It is crucial to recognize that the West's proxy war against Russia is a serious, lengthy fight with enduring repercussions rather than just another minor hiccup in our long-standing relations. The traditional plan, dating back to Peter the Great, to Europeanize the nation and establish itself in that society is no longer viable. Politics or strategy, which is more crucial? We must first clarify the terms before responding. The former is a fairly inclusive phrase. From the political route to the tiniest opportunistic moves of a tactical character, it encompasses a wide spectrum of meanings. Furthermore, the term politics can be used to describe an unlimited variety of subjects, including the domestic politics of Israel, the politics of the Pacific Rim superpowers, and world politics in the first 3 years of the 21st century. The concept of strategy, in contrast, is far more constrained and well-defined. It consists of two key parts: the objective the topic is trying to achieve and the general strategy it has used to get there. Tactics handle the specifics of achieving the goal. Strategy is very responsive to conditions and is always being altered. As opposed to politics, which has its roots in civil administration and necessitates contact with other forces working in the same industry. Resistance is a component of strategy, which has its origins in military affairs. That is, the unavoidable presence of a foe. Berlin has renounced its post-Hitler pacifism, according to Fyodor Lukyanov, and the German question has reappeared. Strategy meant military strategy, which was rigidly subordinate to politics as the highest category during the time of Prussian military theorist Karl Clausewitz, who is credited with the famous quote that war is the continuation of politics by other, namely violent, means. Later, the word's meaning evolved. While politics was frequently viewed as political tactics, strategy increasingly came to be understood as higher politics. Now that these ideas have been clarified, we may ask a crucial question: what purpose does strategy serve in a time when the world is undergoing such drastic change? Having a clear objective and a clear road to get there is beneficial, but what if the objective proves to be an illusion and the path leads to a dead end? Or, after accurately determining the movement's destination and its trajectory, the strategist runs into unforeseen little or major barriers, referred to as friction in Clausewitz's formulation, along the way that cause him to veer off track. As a result, the goal must be achievable and multiple paths must be taken to get there. Everyone can agree that the modern world has entered a period of multiple crises, including those in geopolitics, economics, values, and the NAFTA crisis. Other crises include the inability of contemporary Western obsessions to become universal, the struggle between tradition and innovation within the West itself, as well as the struggle between the West and the East and South, and the NAFTA crisis. The rapid development of technology in a variety of sectors, from computer science to biotechnology, has had a significant impact on the direction and result of each of these crises. Due to these factors, it is very challenging to both predict the general course of events and to position oneself appropriately to deal with their effects. Therefore, it is especially risky to get sucked into delusions when tackling the issues of our day. Being at the mercy of the currents while drifting is as hazardous. As a result, the politician, the pilot, and the strategist, the planner and navigator, must collaborate and be in constant contact with one another. In this situation, it's critical for the strategist to first recognize the dominant tendencies in global development in order to build a framework for goal setting. Then, taking into account the potential available, they must fit feasible and achievable goals for their country into this framework. The essential difference between a strategy and a plan is that a strategy considers the activities of adversaries. Therefore, the strategist must conceive the adversary's strategy and identify a way to counter it, or at the very least develop an alternative route to strategic success. The politician must monitor concerns in the present while the strategist looks into the future. In times of crisis, especially when there are several going on at once, circumstances are continuously shifting and frequently taking unexpected turns. The politician makes sure that the power dynamic, particularly inside his own nation, continues to support the chosen course of action. After all, establishing goals is always within the purview of the current administration. A change in people typically entails re-evaluating, or at the very least, modifying objectives and, consequently, the methods used to achieve them. The politician must also closely monitor foreign actors' actions and take them into consideration in order to advance the national strategy. All of this feels quite ethereal so far. Let's focus the inquiry. 1 year after the start of the military operation in Ukraine, what strategy and policies should Russia adopt? Let's start by evaluating the current circumstance. Russia's external environment has already undergone a significant transformation as a result of the conflict. Its political ties to the West as a whole and to its allies have deteriorated to the point of open hostility, and the war in Ukraine is the West's proxy battle with Russia. Economic ties with this region of the world have been irreparably damaged and are rapidly deteriorating. The Iron Curtain in Europe has been constructed, this time by the West, and ties in the arts, sciences, sports, and humanitarian fields have been severely restricted. The information war has been intensified to its highest point. Russia is not totally cut off, though. It continues to forge alliances with other nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, as well as with the world's newest centers of power in many different fields. This area of the international community is made up of the majority of the nations, where the majority of people live and where more than half of the world's economies are based. With the knowledge that this majority is not a bloc and that its members are not Russia's allies, it is legitimate to refer to it as the world majority. They are heavily entwined with the global economy and the institutions that support it, which severely restricts connection with Moscow, and are driven primarily by national interests. Significant changes have taken place within Russia as a result of the external cycle's drastic shift. The outdated strategy of importing technology and primarily importing raw resources is ineffective now. The political system, which was developed based on liberal American French ideals and then rather successfully adapted to home traditions, in substance, not in form, is evidently in need of a thorough revamp. Following the fall of the USSR, the nation was ruled by the quasi-ideology of pragmatism and the religion of money, both of which turned out to be erroneous and destructive. In other words, Russia must realign itself because the historical tendency towards union with the West has ended. What does this signify, though? Whose self is this? Whether Soviet, Tsarist, or not? Taking the upper hand in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine is a requirement for Russia's long-term strategy. The most crucial requirement for such a victory is a state that can be relied upon to prevent the outbreak of a new conflict down the road. Instead, a loss, if it were conceivably possible, might lead to an instability of the nation and the breakup of the Russian state. Therefore, Russia has much bigger and more existential stakes in the current fight than do the United States and its allies. This by itself is a positive development for Russia, but it in no way ensures success. As a requirement for life and security, the strategic objective of a post-war Russia should be its consolidation as one of the world's superpowers. A population that is educated and in good health, a society built on values that are held by the majority of the population, and the concepts of solidarity and justice are all necessary for real sovereignty in the 21st century. It must also have a political structure that guarantees the unity of power, is founded on the idea of peaceful coexistence amongst the main ideological groupings, sectoral, regional, and local interests, and resolves disputes in accordance with the law. The majority of the way to achieving this strategic objective is within the nation. The development of an elite committed to serving the state rather than simply themselves is a crucial step in this path. The choice of the head of state is crucial, especially when the first person is being changed. This decision extends beyond the actual election process and includes the selection and preparation of candidates, their training in a variety of roles and circumstances, as well as the laws and customs governing the succession to the position of supreme authority. Local government provides a strong popular foundation for the entire power system and ought to be as accessible to the public as feasible and capable of resolving issues. Even outlining a strategy's basic tenets in terms of economics and finance, science and technology, values and culture, etc., is not necessary. The strategist must, however, either be a skilled politician, the preferable option, or be able to collaborate closely with a subordinate corps of experienced and knowledgeable politicians in order to ensure that strategic visions do not remain planned on paper, as they frequently do. Remember, strategy is a struggle with very particular interests and people as its bearers, as well as with the conditions themselves. According to Alexander Suvorov, strategy is the art of winning and keeping leadership, whereas politics is the art of losing it. Nothing works out on its own. In terms of foreign policy, Russia's plan for achieving the aforementioned objective, i.e., becoming a significant global actor, entails, among many other obvious things, active engagement in creating a new global order that does not include domination by any one nation or group of nations. Russia cannot accomplish this on its own. Since non-Western nations like the BRICS, SCO, EEC, and CSTO already have institutions and procedures in place, it makes sense to start peace-building efforts there. The foundation is being prepared for the development of political, economic, financial, and other institutions appropriate for the realities of the first half of the 21st century in this enormous and complicated job, which calls for the concerted efforts of many states.